Fire crews remain on high alert today as the hot and dry conditions continue. Thanks for joining us at 4 o'clock.
Along with Kim Christensen, I'm Phil Lipoff. That vigilance helped keep a brush fire in Parker under control, and we've been seeing this all week. South Metro fire rescue crews quickly tackled that fire this morning. They initially called in air support, then went door to door evacuating people, of course, in that area. Those were both canceled shortly after. It was out within an hour, but burned about 8 acres altogether.
Colorado has really transitioned from a fire season to a fire year. It's always fire season now. These conditions this week, especially with the high wind, high temperatures, low humidity, is kind of that perfect combination for wildland fires to start easily and grow really fast, especially with this high wind this weekend. So thankfully, we were able to contain this fire at the size it was, and again, no structures were no structures were damaged or lost.
And that certainly is the good news. Fire officials say the fire sparked in an area that had multiple homes under construction, though no word yet on how it started.
So let's take a live look outside on this Friday afternoon. Again, beautiful picture. We love to see those blue skies. This is over Horsetooth Reservoir. We are a little worried, though, about how dry things are. Denver just hit 60 degrees for the 40th. Yes, 40. 40th time this winter season, which means nearly half of our winter days have been 60 degrees or higher, which begs the question, is that winter?
I feel like a few more of those days, Corey, and we're going to be counting how many days didn't make it to 60.
Yes.
We're going to be over that threshold. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's very strange. So we're 2 days away from March, and so that will be our 4th March of this winter. So the same conditions over and over again. So the fire weather warning, that is going to start to diminish here as far as the fire weather goes. Humidity's going up, winds are breaking down. That is going to expire at 6 o'clock tonight, but we're going to ride the edge of fire danger all the way through the next couple of months here. You can see the city of Denver breaking back out into the sunshine right now after being behind this big old mountain wave cloud for the last few hours. Temperatures still into the 60s, and they're going to stay that way for a few hours. You can kind of see that mountain wave cloud right here on satellite starting to break down a little bit. So we'll spend the last couple of hours here in the sunshine. You can see that mountain wave cloud really nicely here from Elizabeth on the Viero wireless camera network. That's a live picture. Sun's starting to break through on the other side of that. And here's the next 3 days in Denver. Warm and dry and breezy. Have you heard that before? In the 60s here all the way through Monday. But I do have some promising news about a parade of storms that will be coming through here for the first couple of weeks of March. So I'll talk about that coming up in the full forecast just a few minutes.
We might throw a parade for that. Thank you, Corey. A snowboarder survived an avalanche this week thanks to the quick response of responders in Grand County. This happened on the west side of Berthoud Pass yesterday. Rescue crews saw the boarder get caught in the slide but stopped before falling down the steep cliffs. Wow. Thankfully, some members of a rescue team happened to be nearby. Lucky break, and they reached the debris field quickly. Another group of rescuers used a technical rope system to get to the person and rappel down to safety. Wow. We are hearing from the family of Renee Good for the first time. She is the woman who was killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. She is also from Colorado Springs.
Yeah, they say they have not watched the video showing the moment she was shot and killed by a federal officer. In an interview with NBC, they were asked how they feel, how they're dealing with, how they feel about and how they're dealing with people who see something different when they watch that video.
I mean, I feel like we're the ones who know Renee. Mm-hmm. No one else knows Renee. And so I think, at least for me, the default thing when you hear any of the noise is it's just, I don't know. To a certain degree, it's easy to tune out because it's just no one knew her.
Her death and also the killing of Alex Preddy, who also had some connections to Colorado, sparked protests across that city and, as you know, across the country. You can watch the full interview, by the way, on NBC Nightly News. Legally illiterate. That is what the Department of Homeland Security is calling the executive order signed by Denver Mayor Mike Johnson yesterday.
That order, which is largely symbolic, bars ICE agents from staging or gathering on city property that includes buildings, parks, even sidewalks. Today, a DHS spokesperson shared their response, saying in part, quote, This is legally illiterate. No local official has the authority to bar ICE from carrying out federal law on public property, just as they cannot bar the media from reporting on city streets. Enforcing federal immigration laws is a clear federal responsibility under Article 1, Article 2, and the Supremacy Clause. Mayor Mike Johnston says his office received questions about what would happen if a surge of agents came here. He says this order answers those questions. It also directs local law enforcement to detain any ICE officer observed using excessive force and remove that officer from the situation. 9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson says like ICE officials, this doesn't have to be obeyed.
So what we do have is we do have control over public spaces, over what kind of activations can happen there, in the same way you couldn't hold an event on public property without a permit.
Federal agents have a right to enforce federal law, and to try and ban them from city property while letting other individuals of any sort of background on city property is really not legal.
Denver is not the only city with this measure in place. Similar measures are in place in Seattle, Chicago, and Los Angeles.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife completed the necropsy of the wolf that died in January during a collaring operation. They say it died because of capture-related complications, which led to the acute cardiogenic shock. They say that shock could have been aggravated by hypothermia, capture myopathy, respiratory distress, or even drug reaction. According to the state, it was a 3-year-old breeding male in the King Mountain pack. CPW says the death occurred during a routine collaring operation. This is the 14th wolf in the state to die of the 25 that have been brought in since 2023.
Former Colorado State Senator Sonia Jaquez Lewis will spend 2 years in probation for 3 felony counts of forgery and attempting to influence a public servant. Lewis had represented Longmont. She was accused of mistreating her staff, and as fellow Democrats investigated her, she wrote a response with a letter of support from one of her aides. But that letter was deemed to be fake. She resigned and was criminally charged after that. Major changes could be coming to Colorado's sports betting industry as part of a bill now making its way through the state capitol.
So this bill is designed to limit gambling addiction, but sports bettors say one aspect of it that is included, at least, could crush Colorado's gambling industry. 9 News reporter Evan Krugel joins us now here in the studio with what impact, Evan, this could have on the bets we're able to make.
Yeah, Phil, that bill would implement more safeguards to prevent gambling addiction, but it would also significantly impact the type of bets people are allowed to make. That part could be the sticking point in Senate Bill 131, which was introduced on Wednesday. The proposal would ban the use of credit cards on sports betting apps, and it would place a limit of 5 deposits per customer every day, as sponsors like Democratic State Senator Matt Ball look to limit gambling addiction in Colorado.
This is not prohibition. The goal is not to get in the way of anybody who's having fun and placing bets on sports. Again, this bill is really about trying to curtail, problem gaming behavior for people who are addicted, kids who are betting underage. That's really what this bill is targeted towards.
A lot of people support that, but there are a lot of concerns about this part. The bill would also ban sports books from offering prop bets, things like how many points will Nikola Jokic score tonight. Sports bettors say these types of bets make up the overwhelming majority of bets being made today in Colorado, and getting rid of them would have a dramatic impact on what bets can be made and how much revenue sports books and the state can generate.
I think it would be an enormous drop in the amount of bets being made. If prop bets were taken off the board in Colorado, I think that a lot of people would have their favorite bets taken off the board personally. Without them, they'll be doing a lot less betting, which is really not good for the state. It's not good for the sports book, and it's not good for the consumer.
Now, less bets would also mean less money for the state's water plan grant program that's funded in part by that sports betting revenue. The bill has 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans as sponsors. It'll head to the Finance Committee for initial discussion. Guys, certainly lots of questions surrounding this bill. There is a lot to unpack here as this moves forward.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they made any connection between those prop bets and addiction, or if that's just a byproduct of what's happening.
Yeah, they have statistics to back that up in the bill, but the other aspect of this is that fact that we have more and more players who are essentially betting on themselves, manipulating games. That came into play as well here as they try to fix that problem moving forward. The big problem, the big question, I suppose, is that the state's responsibility or federal responsibility when it comes to that type of activity?
Good question.
Yeah, that makes you wonder. It's just it's an area that has just exploded in popularity in recent years.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Evan.
You bet.